You mentioned before SUI.
Mhm.
We talked about concentrated portfolio. Last time you told me, and some people took this as a clip, I'm massively overweight SUI. What does your portfolio look like today in December 2025?
I haven't done a single trade apart from I bought some more SUI 3 weeks ago.
Mm.
So I haven't actually done anything, not reallocated any assets, done nothing. Yes, I bought some more NFTs since I last saw you, but that's it. So I don't do anything much. And people are going to clip this again and say, look, he's really overweight SUI, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody's going to say, scammer. It's like, everybody just fuck off. Just fuck off. My allocation is my business. I tell you that I have conviction in something, and I ask you and I beg you not to have my risk profile. All I'm trying to do is give you truth, which is what I'm doing. If you ask me, I'm asking you not to fuck it up. I'm asking you to think about your own risk tolerance and to do your own homework. So all of these fucking people who clip podcasts and then try and hang me on it, either for good or for bad. See, he mentioned our token.
Yeah.
It drives me insane.
There's so much shit taken out of context all the time. I mean, that's how social media works.
Yeah, because you will take this swearing clip and put it on. I know you will. You're looking at it now, so there's the money shot. And you can all fuck off. But it just drives me to despair because you reduce everything down to a soundbite, including all markets and everything. It's like, that's not, I spend so much time communicating, but nobody wants to listen to the full communication. They just want to say, I hate him or I love him.
Mm.
It's like, please don't do any of that. Just say, oh, that was interesting. That kind of, maybe that sparks an idea and I'll listen to somebody else.
Oh, that was rude. It's okay, you're Brit. We forgive you. Tell me your honest thoughts on SUI in late 2025. Because obviously, I mean, everything goes up and down in price, and then the sentiment always follows the price. And I'm pretty also active in obviously, I own SUI. I'm pretty active in the ecosystem. And I have some people coming to me and saying, Kevin, what do you think about SUI? I'm like, you guys are in the ecosystem, right? What's your, tell me more about what you've seen or researched or talked to that make you still so convinced in late 2025 despite this crazy volatility?
Yeah. So it is not acting out of normal versus other tokens where it is on the risk curve.
Mm.
Okay. So that's a signal point. We've noticed that it has over time broadly outperformed ETH and Solana, but in recent times underperformed, but still within an uptrend, it's been outperforming. It is all on SUI and Miston Labs to prove that this amazing tech, because the tech is unquestionably good, can get adoption. So that's the game we're all playing here. So what does adoption look like? Well, we need users, and they've been accumulating users at a rate of change faster than Solana did in the last cycle, and faster than most layer ones. Rate of change, because obviously you're starting small. It's new, but that's when the most gains are made. Then we need to look at this value idea. How much value is being transacted? So have they had the big breakout gaming? Well, they've got the EVE Online thing coming, but it's not online. It's not happened yet.
Mm.
Yes, they've had some gaming stuff, but their handset was a unmitigated disaster. So, we see them doing things that fail and things that succeed. They put a lot of Bitcoin on chain. That was a big value driver because it's a chunky asset and it gets moved around. That adds value to the network.
Mm.
Stablecoins have worked well on SUI and are growing very fast. DeFi, somewhere in the middle.
Mm.
So it's still patchy because it's early. Think about it. They've only been marketing this to the general world for 3 years, of which maybe 2.5, really, that people start getting noticed.
Mm.
So it's very early in the stage of the business. But when I break it all down and put the model into ChatGPT and my other analysis, and then check it against somebody like Jamie Coots, who's the chief crypto analyst at Real Vision, we both come up with the same answer. If you're using Metcalfe's law and adoption models, and you're careful not to get gamed by active users and stuff like that, so you're very cautious, it's about 80% undervalued versus Solana. So my model is saying it's very undervalued. Does it have to trade at Solana parity in terms of users? Not really, but it's just saying it has convexity to the upside. So then we need the market to rise and start breaking higher. And then we can see, is SUI doing what I expect it to do?
Mm.
And are they going to get more adoption and more activity? So it's still yet to be proven, but so far the metrics are showing as a layer one, their rate of change is faster than everybody else's, and they're accruing considerable value per proven active user.
So the majority of your thesis is based on models and data.
Yes. And technical analysis.
Mm.
And yeah, it's basically that.
How do you ensure in crypto, this is not a SUI specific question, but in crypto that the data is correct, that the data that your model uses is correct?
You can't. And so what you try and do is be consistent amongst your analysis. So the way that you measure active users in SUI is the same for Solana, is the same for Ethereum, is the same for Bitcoin, whatever it is you're looking at. And so, that work suggested that Avalanche, Near, and SUI were pretty cheap.
Mm.
And if you think about it makes kind of sense. They're all seeing quite a lot of activity. They're seeing new things happen, and they're seeing some scale. Kind of makes sense.
Do you have some insight as to where these users come from? Who are these users?
I don't really know. Usually it's from Web3 itself.
Mm.
So people like you and me, we've come across to a new chain and we'll open a wallet and we'll do some stuff and we'll play around in DeFi and we, whatever. So we're now an active user.
Mm.
So a lot of it is that. And then, whenever you get a breakthrough that allows people to onboard from Web 2 into Web 3, it might be gaming. Suddenly you become an active user. Now, a gaming user, you might be using blockchain rails, doesn't actually drive a lot of value because they're doing small transactions. So you need a gazillion small transactions to create value versus that user. So those users aren't actually super valuable. What you really want is what Bitcoin has, which is quite a lot of users transacting large scale value, particularly when you've got a super cluster like a sovereign wealth fund who can own, or Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor is a great example, a super cluster that has a gazillion dollars of Bitcoin and it's one user.
Mm.
That kind of thing is what you want to get to.
Last time we talked, you said you have to be paranoid at all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really have this thing, obviously since the Luna experience, but not only about price going to zero, it's more even the whole Luna thing was based on the UST, right? Terra stablecoin. Yeah. And there was some protocol, Chia or something in South Korea. And it was kind of proven afterwards that all these numbers were faked. And so for me, that's always this now. I'm like, whatever the price or whatever an asset, but I'm always thinking, I don't trust any freaking numbers I see in crypto.
Yeah, true.
Because it's also such a...
Everything's gamed. Everything is
gamed. Like, whatever. I mean, Twitter, follower, engagement. This is like very basic thing, but you're like, come on, really? But then all this thing can be gamed so easily to raise these hundreds of millions of dollars, and then the whole thing is completely inflated from the beginning. And
so one thing that I filter for is persistence of active users. Because I saw it with the SUI Foundation, we had some games on Telegram that, was it in Telegram? No, whatever it was, some games. And basically they were just gaming the system. And so not the SUI Foundation was, but the people building these games, because they just ran people through this pipe. They use the game for a while and then disappear. So they're not actual active users, but it looks good.
Mm.
And it's like, we don't want that kind of bullshit activity. So we kind of got rid of it. So you can see that, but it's really hard to persist with because you run out of money. So it's a very expensive thing to game.
Mm.
So eventually people run out of money. So if you see it's persistent, it means it's probably more likely to be real.
So what you're saying is that the protocols building on a chain have some, obviously an incentive to fake things, to raise money, etc. What I'm thinking is also probably some foundations I don't know who, right? But have an incentive because it's all such a game of
They
token
want the
price
number
go
to
up.
go up. Yeah, they want the number to go up. And so this is why, and you're right. So the numbers we don't know. We look for some metric which is comparable.
Mm.
We look for some persistence. We look for some explainability. So that's your smell chest is, can I explain these users? Then after that, it's like, what do the fucking charts say? Because if in doubt, the chart tells you something. How do you look at a chart? Well, you really should look at it on its own first. The long-term trend, the short-term trend, short meaning daily charts, but out to weekly and monthly in log charts, and then look at the asset versus other assets to know, is it really doing something different? And there's usually a signal in that, hey, something is not working here. Now, it could be intermediate noise, or it could be more meaningful. And so, look, there's a lot to do for people, but they have to do it because you won't know. If you're further out the risk curve, your job is to be utterly paranoid at all times that your asset allocation is going to actively destroy your wealth or underperform. And so you need to be paranoid and ask yourself the question, am I wrong?
Absolutely.